Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to HG Radio, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Here is your co-founder and host, Kim Becker.
Hello, gorgeous, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and this is Hello, Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration on Society Bites Radio, social interaction for your mind and soul. My guest today is Carlo Glorioso. Carlo began his career in film, TV, and theater as an actor, but quickly began to explore the production management. His first major success was the live worldwide televised concert and mass at Oriole Park as part of the visit of Pope John Paul II to Baltimore. Through the years, he has worked in all areas of production, including corporate videos and commercials such as clients as Kellogg's, UNESCO, and MedStar Health. Based in Frederick, Maryland, he is also the director of the Frederick Film Office. As such, he has successfully lobbied for low-budget film incentives, helped to build the Frederick into a hub for all types of productions, and worked with independent student and studio productions. He is proud to have worked with the producer of George Pelinakis. You'll have to correct me on that. There you go. And The Wire, and The Deuce. Fame on the feature films Fishbowl and DC Noir. Another source of pride is working with Ed Sanchez of the Blair Witch Project and the film VHS 2. He continues to work with Eduardo on several projects in development. In recent years, he has been producing a number of music videos with such companies as Universal Music Group, Warner Music, Concord Music Group, with such artists as Casey Musgraves, Little Big Town, and Rustin Kelly are among those stars. Carlo lives with his wife, Lisa, and his daughter, Stella. Hi, Carl. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Kim. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So you go by Carlo professionally.
I do.
But I know you as Carl.
I
so
do.
You want to tell the story as to why you go by Carlo professionally?
Well, everyone in my industry, we kind of live and die by the International Movie Database, which everybody knows as IMDb. And there's another Carl on there with the same last name who was Miss Gay Missouri, and he competed for Miss Gay America. He's been in a number of productions. He now owns a salon in Kansas City, Missouri. And I'm sure he's a lovely man, but our credits kept getting crossed. So I decided to go by my legal name. And the reason I go by Carl in my personal life is that everybody changes Carlo to Carlos in America, and it drives me batty. It's a source of great amusement for my wife. But it's just easier for me than having to correct people 50 times a day. So,
I'm sitting here looking at you, figuring out what shade of lipstick I would put on you if you ever decided that you wanted to, go that way.
Well, I wouldn't be the first time I've been in a dress, but with these shoulders and my hairy chest, I don't think I'd be winning any contest. So.
Well, I'm grateful. So I don't always get to interview my guests face to face, but I'm lucky enough that Carl is in Maryland. We have a project that we're working together on, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But and so I'm grateful that you're actually here in my office and that we get to do this face to face. So
absolutely,
it doesn't happen very often. So tell me a little bit about, so you've been in the film career for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
How did you actually, did you always know that was an industry that you wanted to be in? Was there a favorite movie that kind of prompted you to get into that?
I always grew up loving film and business and medical things. So I thought I'd either be a doctor or maybe I'd be a performer or something. And I love performing in sports and things like that. And when I was in college, it was time to make a decision, and I happened to be freshman year cast in a film. It was my first time on a film set. And I thought, this is amazing. This is what I want to do. This is my calling. And I concentrated my major on film and on acting and business. And so I could have some opportunities if the acting didn't work out. And that was my focus. I still love the medical stuff. I've had ACL repairs in both my knees. There's some footage of one of them. It's really cool to see. I love watching medical shows. They do procedures and stuff. Drives my wife crazy. But that's just not the route that I took. So
that's awesome. And so what did you do when you actually, I can't imagine the big step that it took when you moved to New York City, right? So
Yeah. So my first time in New York, I went there. I studied acting at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and that was huge. It was almost like the TV show and movie Fame brought to life. Very intense, very serious, and people like Robert Redford, Danny DeVito. I mean, if you walk in there, they're Hall of Fame, and there's one in New York and one in LA, and mine was in New York, and that was great. But then I moved back right after college. I was cast in an off-Broadway show, and moved up there and gave it a shot, and I loved it. I really loved the performing and everything, but twists and turns in your career. I happened to be out on tour at the time back in the day, and I'm aging myself now, before Skype and cell phones were a common thing, and email. And so you couldn't do video auditions and things like that. They didn't exist in the business. And I came back to New York, and I was out of work. So I had someone who knew someone they were interviewing for jobs, and they said, you'll never get it, but maybe you'll get a PA job or something and work your way up. And I landed an associate producer's job, and that kind of started me on the production side of things.
And so do you enjoy being behind the camera more than you enjoyed being in front of the camera?
I do. It's not that every once in a while I'll have somebody ask me, like a friend or somebody, that I'm working on a project, and maybe an actor might drop out or something, and why don't you do it? And every once in a while I think maybe I will, and maybe I will someday, but I really kind of enjoy being involved with all aspects of the production. It really kind of like gets my juices flowing.
In the bio, we read a little bit about not only do you do the production, but you've actually lobbied for some different things to be an advocate for the small film.
Sure.
And so what's been the biggest reward or the biggest push that you've been able to make to advocate for the small film developer?
Well, in Maryland, the climate for film incentives, unfortunately, film incentives, I wish they would all go away all across the country, but they're not going away. So if you want to have production in your state, you have to have incentives. And our incentive program was very small, and it was used up every year. And unfortunately, there was nothing there for Maryland-based filmmakers. So we've lobbied not only to increase, a lot of people have lobbied to increase the incentive program in terms of the dollar amount, but there's a small group of us that lobbied for a small set aside for just Maryland-based production companies who were doing homegrown projects. And Ed Sanchez, he was part of that whole lobbying effort. This is a guy who made a $50,000 movie that made $250 million worldwide in his home state of Maryland. So he was a good advocate for that and a big help. But now every year there's a 10% of the annual incentive for Maryland, film incentive, is set aside for Maryland-based production companies. And that's largely due to the efforts of the group of people who got behind that.
That's awesome.
And Senator Ron Young, I got to give a shout out to him.
So do you go out and actually look for things that can be filmed in Frederick, Maryland, or do people come and find you and ask them to be filmed in your area?
So through the film office, we kind of wait for them to come to us. We get enough traffic with people coming to the area, and especially with the incentive program now, where they're coming to our area. And Frederick County is the largest landmass county in the state. It's doubled for every state in the union except for Hawaii. So we double for a lot of other places and things like that. And then on my production company side of things, I go out and we can say it's a gun for hire. We go and work for somebody else, or we have our own projects that we're creating, and we try and bring those to life. And
so, am I correct? Was House of Cards filmed out in Frederick?
It was. They filmed a couple scenes out there, and they did a lot of antique buying out there. But it was actually filmed mostly in Havre de Grace, Maryland. A lot of the outside scenes in D.C. were filmed in Baltimore, and then they did a little bit of filming in D.C. Not much.
Okay. All right. So tell me a little bit about like the best project that you worked on. So I know you've done some work in Kellogg's, and then I know you just did a video for like Little Big Town. Like if what's your favorite project to do? Are the short ones like the video, or you worked on, what was the name of the Christmas movie?
Elfman.
Elfman, yes.
With Wee Man from the Jackass series.
Yes.
It really depends on the people and the project. I mean, we've had some things where you work on the project and it's very short, but it's a lot of fun and very rewarding, and everybody works together well. And you've had short ones that are a nightmare, and you can't wait till it's over. We have a core group of people that we work with, and we work with a lot of different production people in Maryland that we know. And over the years, we've gotten to who we like, who we don't, what personalities mesh. But it's tough sometimes. I mean, the Little Big Town video, in a lot of ways was very rewarding. In a lot of ways was very challenging, and some of the personalities didn't mesh. They're great. Little Big Town is great. Kate Bosworth starred in it, and it's a wonderful video. The song's called Sugarcoat. It's out there. Check it out. It's really, we're very proud of that video. We did a lot of work with Rustin Kelly, who is Casey Musgrave's husband. Everybody knows Casey. We did a short little video with her for her mother video, but he's awesome. He's a really great personality. He's a big energy. He's a 30-year-old guy who's a really talented musician and writer, and working on those things was really labor of love because he didn't have big budgets, and it was crafting something that really kind of highlighted the music. And in one of them, he actually figure skates because he was a semi-professional figure skater at one time, which if you met him, you go, what? But incredibly talented musician, really salt of the earth kind of a guy. And it was great working with him and his team on creating this stuff that's now out there for people to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you and I met probably, I'm thinking 7 or 8 years ago.
Sure, yeah.
So tell that story about how that was just kind of a fluke of things as well.
So you were certifying a salon in Frederick, Maryland. I knew the salon owner, and she's a crazy, quirky lady and really nice, kind of quirky. And she said, I want to film this thing that's happening for my website. But I don't have any budget, but it's for cancer and women with cancer. And can you help me out? And I said, well, we can send over an intern. And the intern got sick the day of. I called her. She pleaded, please, this woman's in town from South Bend. So I kind of flipped my schedule around, grabbed a camera and a tripod and headed over, and that's how we met.
And so, but there was more to that because as you came and you did the tripod, you had no idea who I was or what I was trying to do.
We started having a conversation, and you told me about, that's very cool, and everything that's really awesome. And then you said you have a book, and then my husband and I, that he's this really great guy, and we have this idea for a TV show. And oh yeah, that's okay. Everybody pitches me every time they hear I'm in production. So I was like, okay, all right. And then you and Mike were pretty relentless and come out to Indiana. So we came out, a small group of us, and we met some of the women that you work with. And one line sticks with me, and I know I say this all the time, but one of the women said, cancer takes away everything that makes you feel like a woman, and you gave it back to me for a day. And that made all the difference to us. And then we started hearing from the families, from the women who didn't survive and the women that did survive. And I thought, this isn't just a makeover. This is entire, they're reinvigorating their spirit. They're giving them the energy to fight. And even when they lost the battle, it still made a difference. And it's, you guys do the work of angels. And I thought, that's something people need to see. And that's what changed my mind about, okay, there's got to be something here. There's got to be a show here.
Well, and one of my favorite stories was we were able to film a couple of makeovers at Notre Dame, and we pulled off, which is still an amazing feat to me, but we pulled off a reveal in front of 10,000 people, which is huge. But Kendall was my favorite without any prompting. We kidnapped her out of the audience at a Pink Zone game, did the makeover in a locker room, a volleyball locker room, I think, and then did a big reveal for her. And luckily, we had all kinds of cameras there, and Katie Stam was with us. She was a 2009 Miss America. And when she came out to the middle of the stage, she did a whole Mary Tyler Moore thing.
Oh, yeah. Hat in the air.
That's right. And did a big twirl.
Yep.
So we came off the court, and you looked at her and you said, that was incredible. What made you do that? Do you remember her response?
I don't remember her response. What was it?
Her response said, well, there were people behind that didn't see me.
Oh, and that sounds like her.
And it was just incredible because of what we were able to do. You made her feel, we took her from this bald individual and did a head-to-toe makeover on her and stuck her center court in front of 10,000 people and made her feel like a superstar.
Yes.
And you guys were able to capture that and be able to tell that story, which was amazing.
It's amazing. She was amazing. What you're doing are amazing. The affiliates are amazing. Mike was amazing. I always say, when I met him the first time, I was like, this guy looks like Mr. Clean and has, the heart of Jesus, and it's just the energy of the Energizer Bunny, because he's just so, just go, go, go. And I know he was dealing with his own health issues, but you wouldn't know it to see him. And he was, your biggest fan and your son Seth's biggest fan. And that was that was wonderful to see. So you guys touched my heart, and I guess we can dovetail into, so we have a lot of old footage of Mike, and you have some footage you've given us and some photos and stuff, and I think it's time to tell the story of Mike Becker. So we're working on a documentary called Mr. Gorgeous about Mike Becker. And one of my favorite stories of Mike.
Yeah, I would tell it.
So during this wonderful makeover in this crazy environment with this sold out game and all these people, Kim and I are like a brother and sister. We always say that, and we love each other, and we butt heads, and we laugh a lot and cry every once in a while. But we were butting heads a little bit that day, and so I go into a restroom, and it's under the area, so with nobody in there except for me. But it's a large restroom with urinals, and and Mike comes up next to me, and I thought, oh God, he's gonna lay into me. Well, Mike I'm doing my business, he's doing his business. He's like, hey, you're a little stressed out today, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, well, I mean, your favorite line, I'm like, your wife, fix it in post. You can't fix everything in post. And then Mike just looks over at me and he goes, yeah, but you gotta love her. And I was like, son of a gun. Yeah, you do. You're right. All right. This is the oddest conversation I've ever had at a urinal. And in fact, it might be the only conversation I've ever had at a urinal. But it was right. And that's Mike in a nutshell. I mean, no matter what, it was, he wasn't mad at me. It was just, I know you guys love each other. I know you guys are here for the same reason. Just figure it out. Like, both of you stop being stupid. But that was Mike.
Mm-hmm. That was Mike.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to be able to tell the story because I think that there are so many things that we haven't, we didn't know why. Mm-hmm. You've been out here several different times in South Bend, and we've captured so much of that footage, but how great is it that we have, it's like bringing him back to life.
It is.
Right? Because we've got all of these old interviews that we did. And, there was one interview that you did that he had come out of the hospital and he had cold sores, all over his mouth and in his nose. And you guys, he was willing to do it. He sat in front of the camera and answered every question, and going back in and looking through that footage, it was all gone. And I can't imagine what it took fixing that in post, with all the little pixelated things to make sure that those cold sores were, they were invisible, that they didn't show. And so I think it's amazing that we have all of these footage, this footage, and to be able to hear his voice. But he was such a gentle giant, and he loved Hello Gorgeous. And I tell that story all the time. People don't know that he sat in a hospital bed with IVs coming out all over the place and tubes hanging out. And every time his phone would ring, he would say, hello, gorgeous, this is Mike. How can I help you?
Yeah, just the heart of a giant. And I mean, one of my favorite things about Mike is he's a great hugger. And when he hug you with his whole soul, like
yes,
his whole
did.
person.
Yes, he did.
And you knew he meant it. And it was that he was one of the most welcoming people that I've ever met. So it was odd that you and I were having, so this year, you've had a lot of changes in the past few years. I've had a lot of changes. I got married. Last time I came out, I was single.
That's right.
I married my lovely wife, Lisa. We've had a beautiful daughter, Stella, who is the light of our world and just has changed me in ways and will continue to change me in ways that I can't even imagine. And it got me thinking, I don't know why, about Hello Gorgeous and different things. And I just posted something on Facebook, one of the old videos, and I actually, one of them has Mayor Pete Buttigieg in it, and who's running for president right now. And I said, this is not a political statement. This is just about a great organization, and I'd love to do something with them again. I'm thinking about it. It's on my mind. And you hit me up and said, this is crazy, but your sister Trish and you, a couple hours before I put that post up, had just had the conversation about doing something with us again. And so we started dialoguing, and 2 months later, here we are.
Yeah,
so
it's awesome. And I was able to bring you in and, kind of meet my team, because that's all changed. It's amazing. As we were talking about it earlier, the organization has evolved so much in the last, even 4 or 5 years, that we used to run this out of our dining room. And now we've got, 12,000 square feet of office space and warehouse space. And our affiliate program has grown to 34 and 15 states. And it's so cool to be able to, but yet it feels like I saw you yesterday.
It does. I mean, and that's what family is like. It's like
that's
you
right.
don't see them for a year or 2 or 3, and then you see them. It's just like my sister.
Yeah.
I mean, when I get on the phone with my sister, it's like I just talked to her yesterday, and that's the way the relationship you and I have. But coming out here, it's really been cool to see how the organization has changed and grown. And one thing is that I look at the opportunities for future growth, and I think where Hello Gorgeous can go. And I remember when we were doing the interviews in your living room and on your front lawn and things, and I thought, holy heck, how are they going to grow this thing? And now I see that. I see that, the people that, you've got some of the core people that are still involved, and you've grown with some new people. And I think that has revitalized the organization. I think your affiliate program is really doing well. I think you've come up with some other things that you've been doing. The office is beautiful. You now have the space to physically handle all the things that you couldn't fit into your home. So I think you're ready. I think I'm so proud to even know you and be a part of this. So
awesome. Well, and it was interesting because when we were at the retreat, we just had a retreat over the weekend, and we were telling our team, it's not just the makeovers anymore, which it used to be. Like the whole focus was just the makeovers, but we've got an opportunity now to help so many more women. We've got so many more resources that are available to help women with cancer smile when they look in the mirror. That's really what we want to be able to do.
Absolutely. And honestly, I go back to that one line from that one woman, and I think everybody's, like you've said a million times, I've heard you say, everybody's life's been touched by cancer. But as a man, you don't really realize, what it's like to have cancer and have all that stripped away. Because we're used to being, gross and disgusting. We don't think about that. And, guys lose their hair all the time, and who cares? And but as a woman, all those things that make you feel feminine, and I thought, it's just amazing. It's amazing that you give them this gift that, helps them to fight for another day and gives them the strength to carry on. And I don't know, I think you're changing lives in more ways than you actually realize. And it's really special what you do.
Well, I have the best job in the whole world.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. And I agree with you. I think it's the ripple effect of things like we don't see. But what's really cool about what you do is you get to bring what I do to life.
Yeah.
And in so many different ways.
Sure.
So that's my question. So I've been saving my favorite question.
Okay.
I ask everybody my favorite question when I meet them, although I'm not meeting you for the first time.
Sure.
But if you could do anything in the whole wide world that you wanted to do and you didn't have to get paid to do it, what would it be?
Oh, wow. It would be tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
I love to tell stories. I love to tell true stories. I love to tell, fiction, nonfiction. Just really putting things out there. I don't want to we do a lot of horror, but I think horror is a vehicle to, it might scare you, but it also is fun. We're not trying to put things out there like, there are a lot of reality TV shows that are kind of highlight the bad parts of people and the bad parts of their lives. That's not what we want to do. We want to tell stories that uplift people and give them hope or make them laugh and, or give them information that they didn't have. And those are the kind of things, I think in a very small way, we have impact on people's lives by doing that. And we're not changing the world, but maybe we're changing, 5 minutes in someone's life or 2 hours if they're watching a movie, and we give them a smile or a laugh or a scare or whatever. That I think is a gift to be able to do that. I'm lucky that I get paid to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, really it would be, and something I get to do for free anyway, is be Stella's dad.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought that one little creature could have such an impact. And everybody tells you that, and you told me about being a mom, and Mike told me about being a dad, and everybody else told me, and you don't realize it until you see her or him for the first time, and you think, oh, that's what they meant.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting here with you in South Bend, and I'm thinking about my girls at home, so.
And so that just, again, we just have a couple minutes left, but so how do you find that? For so long, we've talked, you were single,
Yeah.
and your life was your job.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden you have this work-life balance because it
Sure.
really didn't matter. Now it does. You do want to be involved in your
Mm-hmm.
daughter's life, and you've got a wife that you take care of. And so what do you do to to find that balance, and how can you encourage others to find that balance?
Well, I think you have to realize what's important in your life, and then you have to make goals to make that a priority. And my wife and I have had many conversations about this. We just had one, as I told you, last Friday before I came out here. And we're restructuring things. We're bringing in partners who can do more of the on-the-road things that I used to do. And it used to be okay. And I said to my wife, it was hard enough leaving you after I found you. and now to leave both of you is gut wrenching. I'll never not travel for work, but I want to travel less, and I want to have my family with me more. So that's what's important. And I found for me, I mean, finding my wife and having our daughter, and even the changes in my career since I've met you before, it was more about getting out of my own way and letting what was supposed to happen while I'm working towards things that I passionately felt called to do, and getting rid of all the garbage, whether that be relationships or projects or things like that. I'm supposed to be doing this because this will be, a good, this will put me on the spotlight, or this will do that. Like, no, I want to do this because it's the right thing to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so glad that you were here and that you're in my office in South Bend. So thank you so much.
Your beautiful new office. Thank you.
If you want to know more about the guests on our show today or more about Hello Gorgeous, feel free to contact me at kbecker@hellogorgeous.org or visit our website at www.hellogorgeous.org. We invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and download our mobile app. Thank you for joining me today on Hello Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and until next time, stay gorgeous.
Another beautiful day, walking in the sunshine, spending the time with you. Last night we had a good time, dancing in the moonlight and loving the night away. I can't imagine what it'd be like. I can't imagine what it'd be like. I can't imagine what it'd be like without you. I can't imagine that.